A few of my pitchers over the last week have been struggling with finding their groove in the game, and they feel like they've kind of lost their
mojo.
Yeah, they feel like they lost their mojo. And after talking to them, we discovered that they are pitching very defensively and pitching to not make mistakes. So we decided we were going to do a video to talk about how to fix that.
Essentially, we want to get out of our own way. When we're mentally all over the place, we end up pitching more defensively. Maybe we're pitching to, try to throw strikes or try to get the hitter out, or
pitching to not give up hits, pitching to not walk people,
pitching to not get taken out of the game.
Also, pitching to not hear negative social media comments.
Mm-hmm. Pitching to not hear the wrath from their parents on the way home. The list can go on and on, really. But when you're pitching defensively, you're pitching to avoid some kind of like punishment, or maybe it's even punishment from yourself, right? So being able to switch that to pitching aggressively, where you're just going right at the hitter, you're not thinking about what anyone else thinks, and obviously that takes practice. We've mentioned this before. You have to practice this mindset. But something that has helped me kind of switch over to that mindset when I kind of find myself pitching defensively is just reminding myself that I'm at the top of my game when I let that shit go. Basically, when I just pitch aggressively and not care about the outcomes or anything that's out of my control, I know that I'm on top of my game. So just drop it, like literally just drop it, which is why I would always do that. Like literally I'm throwing any bad thought that I had away. And I did this a lot. So obviously a lot of bad thoughts entered my head.
That's normal though. Everybody has that. That was one of the conversations I had with my girls this week is she was talking, like, she came in, she had a bad game. She's like, I was thinking a lot of really bad thoughts. Like I wasn't good. And this, I'm like, we all have those thoughts. It's normal. The key is you just have to notice when you're thinking that and then switch it around. Right. Or even just acknowledge like, hey, you know what? I'm not at my best right now, but I can still get out. I can still get the job done and help my team get out of this inning. Right. So you just flip the script a little bit and then you move on. But like those thoughts are so normal.
Yeah, they are very normal.
I hate how people are like, don't think this. Like, we're human. Of course we're going to have doubts. We're going to doubt ourselves. Like that's part of living.
Yeah. And I feel like there's also like a shame associated with like, if you do acknowledge those thoughts, where it's you kind of are just taught to ignore them rather than like the quicker you are to like accept them and realize, okay, these thoughts are here, the quicker they can be gone, the quicker the more it sounds ridiculous, especially if you say it out loud. Like if you say the thoughts that you say in your head out loud, you'll be like, what the heck? Like, so it's scary to say it out loud, and it's scary to acknowledge it at first because you're like, oh, I don't know. It makes you more mental. I don't know. But the second that you do recognize it,
what people think of you too, if you say that out loud.
Yeah. And the quicker that you're able to recognize it and know where your head is at and know what kind of dialogue is being said, the quicker you can switch the dialogue. But if you're in your head trying like saying all these negative things and all these what ifs, and you're just trying to completely ignore that they're there and you're just pumping positivity, now you have pumping positivity and negativity. Like just accept this and get back to neutral. You don't need to always combat a negative with a positive where it's like, oh, what if this, or I don't want to get in trouble for this, or I don't want to get whatever. And then you don't necessarily need to counteract that with like, I'm the best pitcher ever. I am doing so good. I love everything. Right. Because now you're just lying to yourself.
If that's and not how you are. Feel. Yeah, you're lying to yourself, right? It's like you're trying to do what's right for the sake of doing what's right, but it doesn't actually fix the issue, right? It doesn't help with your mentality in that moment.
So just being able to, again, finding what works for you. Again, for me, it was just saying like, well, just one, acknowledging it, but also reminding myself again, like, I know that I am at my best when I like drop this. Like I just, go back to my neutral. So finding what works for you, dumping it, acknowledging it, and then realizing how stupid it sounds, then dumping it, right?
And see, I had a very different approach. So I played my best when I was angry, like not like crazy angry, right? But, I played with a chip on my shoulder. And so anytime I would start to feel doubt or insecurity or anything like that, I would just blame whoever was hitting and I would take it out on them. And that's what worked for me. So like you said, there's a ton of different ways to handle it. So just that was mine. I don't think many people think like that, but it worked for me.
That would work for me in like for certain batters, but not consistently. Like that would make me too like high, and I like the neutral right in the
See,
middle.
it didn't make
But
me high. It
yeah,
didn't
that's
get
good.
me,
Yeah.
it didn't get me too up, but that's just kind of like, I wouldn't get so angry where it'd be like out of control. It would just be
Mhm.
enough where I could like focus it and be like, it's your fault I'm like this. You're going down. And that was it.
Awesome. Yeah. So, you know, finding what works for you.
Yeah. Trial and error. You
Yeah.
probably already have an idea of where you're at mentally when you're and like emotionally when you're throwing your best. So it's just kind of trying to steer yourself back towards that.
Mhm. And I think another, which you taught me from a young age too, was, you know, you're pitching defensively if you're telling yourself, don't walk her, don't throw a ball, don't. All saying don't is giving an instruction to your brain on what to do. Like you're saying don't walk her. Now your brain is like walk her, walk her, walk her.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
your
just,
your
if
body
you're-
doesn't hear the don't.
Yeah.
But then also like, okay, don't walk her. Well, what does that mean I should do?
You're not telling yourself what to do. Exactly. Be aggressive. Go right at her. Trust your defense. That's like, okay. It's more light. It's not like negative, like, oh God, like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah. But it's also a very clear direction of where you want to go,
Mhm.
right? It's giving yourself an outcome to work for.
Which again is like that aggressive throwing freely, which is what we want, rather than the defensive. Like you're on defense, but you are going, like you are attacking the hitters. Like you are going right at them. So
Yep.
only defense you should be playing as a pitcher is if you get like a ground ball or something.
And even then you have to be aggressive. Don't wait for
Exactly.
that ball to come to you. You got to go get it.
Go get it. Go get it. I think also for coaches, one, again, we talked about this before, but being able to recognize where your pitcher's at or what her cues are, good for catchers to know too. And obviously the pitcher, like know what kind of starts to make you spiral, but know what to say to them. And again, don't use don't. Like just remind them of what, you know, just go right at her. Let the defense work.
Do not say, just throw strikes.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Like anything that can like put additional pressure on someone that's already kind of in defensive mode. You're, as a coach or catcher that's trying to get your pitcher back in the game, you need to be talking to them in an aggressive, not like at them aggressively, but helping them get back into that aggressive mindset of like, no, you're going right at her. Like, let's do this, rather than adding to their worries of like, oh, well, you know, you're throwing a lot of balls. Like, no shit. If you see that they're in a defensive mindset, help them get back to an aggressive one, rather than letting them just sit in the defensive or making it worse. Like, just help them get back to aggressive.
Which again requires communication beforehand.
Mhm.
So you know what they need to hear.
I know a lot of parents ask about this too. Like a lot of times defensive pitching shows up in walks or a lot of balls, and you know, and a lot of parents have asked how to get their pitcher, like what's a practice to get them back into that, get out of that little dip.
Most of it's just mental practices, right? Putting yourself in that situation and working through it, really paying attention to what you're thinking, you know, visualizing your thoughts in your head. But I mean, there's ways to simulate it in practice, and you usually need to up the ante a little bit more because there's no consequences in practice, right? So like live is great for that because you can get competitive, and so the consequences go up a little bit more. But if you're just doing a bullpen, you know, maybe it's, you know, for every walk you lose your phone for 5 minutes, like whatever. It's not a punishment, right? So I have my pitchers like, okay, what do you look forward to? Like, what's something you really like? I'm like, okay, so that's going to be on the table, right? So if every time you walk something, you're going to lose it a little bit, or every time you get something, like whatever outcome we're going for, you gain a little bit. So it gives them a little bit more buy-in that way, because it's really hard to replicate that in a bullpen.
I think something
and again,
else.
it's not a punishment.
Yeah.
It's not a punishment to take it away. It's just a consequence to get them to buy in more and be more competitive.
And to kind of simulate that pressure. Because again, it's very hard to, I mean, it's impossible to mimic game pressure in practice, but you're like, the goal is to try to get as close to that feeling as you can. I was gonna say another thing too, which kind of goes with like the coach and catcher knowing what to say, but also as a pitcher, anybody, and we've talked about it before, is calling timeout, letting your pitcher reset, because a lot of times when you're pitching defensively or when you're kind of in that little rut or starting to spiral, like your pace speeds up and like you're out of control. So just taking the time to like, again, it comes with recognizing what is being said in your head or what you're actually feeling, rather than just letting yourself just keep taking reps. Like, it's not about that. Call a timeout, whether it's you, the catcher, the coach, whoever, get back on track, recognize it, reset, throw it out, be okay, and then new batter or new pitch, right? That's another really good way to kind of get out of that funk. And again, all of this is very intentional. It's not just calling timeout just to take a second, like recognizing, okay, like I was pitching defensively, I was saying the what if, recognizing it, figuring out what, like where you want to go, how you want to get back to where you're at or where you're supposed to be, and then moving on. Your head, your mentality is affecting what your body is doing. So if you're not in a good space, it's obviously going to show with what you're doing. And the only person that can control what's going on up here is you. So your coach and your catcher can call timeout and say whatever they want to say, but it's up to you to make the choice and be very intentional about getting rid of or acknowledging the thought and knowing what to replace it with or knowing how to get back to aggressive. That's all up to you. No one else can do that for you. So get out of your own way.
Get out of your own way.
Get out of your own way. Bye.
That was a lame bye.
Bye. It kind of matched the get out of your own way. Goodbye.
Yeah.